So, what does the Torah have to say about hostages this week? The Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about how the Torah is something that we're living at all times. So, it's a living Torah, Torat Chaim, and when we're learning it, we're seeing things that we can tap into, different consciousness, different ways of bringing more light into our lives. And these past weeks and moving forward, we're reading about Moses, the ultimate redeemer, and him trying to free Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, that are being basically held captive, hostage in ancient Egypt. Pharaoh being the ones that the power that is enslaving them. And as we read, it's a new Pharaoh that didn't know of Bnei Israel. The previous one actually brought Joseph to be the second most powerful person, but this new one, this new form of enslavement, he doesn't know Bnei Israel at all, and Moshe is doing this sort of song and dance, this give and take with Pharaoh to redeem Bnei Israel, and Hashem is telling him all the things he needs to do. Some is magic, some are plagues, and Pharaoh keeps hardening his heart. And when we're reading this, first of all, obviously, when you're reading this, you're thinking about the hostages that we have right now that, thank God, some of them are being released. God willing, all of them immediately will be released. But there's also this idea of Mitzrayim, ancient Egypt. The root word is metzar, which means constriction. So it's this constricted consciousness that we're fighting against. So even within our own selves, we have this Pharaoh and we have Moses being the redeemer, and Pharaoh being on the other side, representing the Yetzer Hara, representing the evil inclination, representing the constricted consciousness, and of course, as we're reading, representing enslavement. So within our own lives, that plays as suffix, as doubt, as fears, anxiety, and these stories that we keep telling ourselves that may be negative that are not true. And Moshe is the redeemer that we all have within ourselves. It's also Bechina of the Mashiach, which is the Messiah, and the Messiah is also Bechina of Moshe. So they're both aspects of each other, interconnected. And Moshe, when he tells Hashem, when he tells God, send the other messenger, send the messenger in my place, because he's so reluctant, he has a lisp and all these other reasons, he's saying, send Mashiach, send the ultimate redemption. But it isn't the time yet, so God doesn't send the Messiah, as we know, but he sends Moses. And there's this, there's the time and place for everything, but we always have to go through the descent for the ascent, and there's all these different lessons that we need to learn. So Rabbi Nachman talks about that each time we're trying to reach a new level, right? So it becomes so much harder for that next spiritual level or that next goal. Right before you're about to jump to that next level, you're being tested with something that seems insurmountable. But if you can pass that and have the faith and have emunah and hold strong, then you'll reach that next level. Shabbat shalom to you. Let me know that you can hear me, because the last time I went, I think it was on mute or something. And Dali Fencer actually says something super interesting, that basically when you do reach that next level, you're pulling up another person that is trying to get onto your level, let's say, and then they get pulled onto the level that you're at. So basically, when you have that emunah and you reach that next level, you're actually pulling up everybody up another level. So you're affecting the whole world. So that's something to keep in mind if you need that chizuk, if you need that strength for yourself. You could also think about others when you're, as Rambam says, if the world is equally balanced, so one action toward the positive can shift or tip the scales toward positivity. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says not only an action, but even a thought. But what I was learning, Rabbi Nachman, today was that basically it's not only, you don't only have to, or you can't only think of something. Let's say you want to manifest something good in this world. It's not enough to just think about it. You actually have to speak about it. And the beginning of Likutei Halachot, and Resh Pebet also speaks about this, which is in Likutei Maran, talks about this idea. Well, it's more in Likutei Halachot where Rabbi Natan expounds on this idea of the difference between a domem, of almost somebody who can't speak, which he's painting this picture of somebody who, if you're in this depressive state and you're not inspired to speak, or like an animal who can't speak like us and bring things into being through articulation. So this dibul, this idea of speech, it's connected to tefillah, it's connected to prayer, And the idea is that you could speak out, as King Solomon says, that you could speak something into existence. So it's basically this idea of manifestation. So when we are praying for something, let's say we want to do hitbodedut, where we're like speaking out to God in our own words, it's so important because it's not enough to just think it, but when you actually say it, then you can manifest it, and God's listening to those prayers. And there's a book, I can't remember by whom, but I think it's something about the power of the subconscious, and that the subconscious is basically your slave. So when you're speaking negatively, then you're training your subconscious to bring about negativity or whatever that which you're speaking. So this book is basically, the idea is the more positive you can speak out into the world, and especially to yourself, these affirmations and these different things, then you could bring that about, and your subconscious is basically the slave. You're the master. Your speech is the master of the subconscious. So you can bring that about through the power of speech. I'm going to close this up and say Shabbat Shalom, and then I'm going to come back for story time, just so it doesn't cut out. All right, love you guys.